In this video, I'll be talking about Bastet, the goddess of cats from the Egyptian pantheon. In Smite, Bastet is an assassin, an ability-based one, and she's a lot of fun to play. Moving into base statistics, she's pretty squishy. 415 health plus 80 per level. Physical defense 12 plus 2.9, the standard magical scalings. Uh, Movement speed 375 on the higher end of assassins. One thing interesting to note with Bastet, she actually has a unique attack progression. She does one times, 0.7 times attack speed and damage, and then a 1.3 times attack speed and damage. So she doesn't. So you see more gods that have a 0.75 and a 1.25, or a zero point 0.5 into 1.5. Bastet's is kind of an even ground between those, a little bit, but it lets her hit for a lot of damage overall with that third attack. Um, Moving into her abilities, her passive is called Open Wound. So when Bastet hits an enemy with her main three abilities, she will hit them. She will give them a debuff called Open Wound. When a target has Open Wound, an ability, one of those three abilities that hits them after they get the wound, will deal additional damage, and remove the wound instead of applying one. So the duration it lasts for 3 seconds, and you'll do 15% additional damage if you hit them, while the enemy has an open wound. So now I mentioned Bastet's three main abilities. Those three abilities, starting with Pounce. Bastet will jump to a target location, dealing damage to enemies that are nearby. And for 4 seconds after pouncing, you can use the ability again to pounce back to the location you jumped from. This is a unique mechanic, and very few gods can do this, but Bastet can jump to one place, move around for at least for 3 seconds, 3.5 seconds, and then just jump back. So you can pull a lot of shenanigans with it, or just immediately jump into a dangerous situation and immediately jump out. While in the return pounce state, so after she pounces once and is ready to go back if she wants to, Bastet moves 25% faster. So damage 80 to 340 damage plus 100% of your physical power. This is very rare to see on a god's normal abilities, 100% scaling, and you usually only see it on physical gods with 100% scaling on a main ability because it leads to a lot of power, and you can do a lot of damage with this ability. Your cooldown, 12 seconds, costs 70 to 90 mana. Bastet's second ability is called Razor Whip. Bastet will swipe her whip at the enemies, causing them to bleed for damage every second for the duration. So the damage protect 25 to 105 plus 25% of your physical power. 4 seconds lasts for 4 seconds, so you hit 4 times. The cooldown of this ability is 15 seconds. Mana cost 60 to 80, and it hits in a cone in front of her. You can swing it a little bit, but not a lot, because there used to be exploits with that, and it just led her to being way better than she is even now. Even though right now she's considered one of the best gods in the game. So just kind of take the marker for what it is, and don't try swiping too much. Her third ability is called Declaw. Bastet will throw a dagger, which detonates on the first target it hits, which deals damage and slows all enemies in a small area around it. So it's a straight line target. It explodes against the first enemy it hits. So, damage 70 to 270 plus another plus 100% of your physical power ability. It's a 30% slow for that last 2 seconds. It's on a 10-second cooldown, and its mana cost 70 to 90. And finally, her ultimate, Cat Call. Upon using this ability, Bastet will summon 3 cats, and they'll attack nearby targets, slowing and damaging them. So now cats actually will prioritize enemy that is bleeding from Razor Whip. So in order to get a cat to prioritize a target, you just hit them with Razor Whip first, and they'll start attacking them first. So now each cat will do 25 to 65 damage per hit, plus 20% of your physical power. They'll slow for 20%. Their lifetime is 10 seconds. So these things last for a while and can be really tanky in the early game. Really hard to kill, really hard to get off of you. Cooldown 90 seconds, mana cost 90 to 110. So now let's go over some leveling real quick. Bastet, at level 1, Bastet is one of the best junglers in the game, so you usually want to play her there. At level 1, you definitely want Razor Whip. It's just overall a great ability for jungling, lets you hit all the targets and do a lot of damage to them. At level 2, you want to take Pounce. Pounce does a lot of damage. It has such massive physical power scaling, plus it's your escape, so you might as well have it. At level 3, you get Razor Whip again. More damage, faster clear. It's just a really good idea. At level 4, you take Declaw. This is where your combo comes online, where you'll jump at someone, hit them with Pounce, use Razor Whip on them, get the open wound damage bonus, and then hit him with Declaw, so that they can't run away. And then you can get a few free auto attacks in on them before. And if you're really good at this, you can actually hit them with all 3 abilities and an auto attack, and then immediately jump back with Pounce. So you're out of danger. So now at level 5, you take Catcall. Bastet is one of the best level 5 gods in the game because at level 5, Catcall, the cats do so much damage and just slow someone. And Bastet's combo of jumping into them, razor whipping them, declawing them, and then summoning cats means the cats are just going to wail on them and completely and utterly annihilate them. And if the god doesn't have an escape, the cats will just eat them up. And they'll be so slow that they just can't run away and they'll just die. At level 6 and level 7, you take Razor Whip again. At level 8, this is where you go Pounce. Pounce does so much damage that you need it. At level 9, you kind of have an option. You can either wait with the cats and have them do slightly less damage, or take them. If you wait on them, you take your final level of Razor Whip and get the extra 20 damage per tick that it offers, which is humongous since it hits 4 seconds, so effectively it's 80 extra damage. In terms of taking Catcall as your item, as your level 9 ability, it's still a great idea. You get more damage with your cats, you have a really good level 9 combo, so neither is a bad idea. I like getting Razor Whip before the cats. At level 10, I usually get cats at level 2. Level 11 and 12, get Pounce. At level 13, this is where I definitely skip Catcall and go into Pounce. The cats start scaling a whole lot less since ADCs have time to get Sprint up. You have Gaza get beads to avoid your slows. And since Bastet doesn't have a whole lot of CC, they can just beads to get away from your cats. This is also where a lot of the mages will have their area damage online, so cats just die a lot easier than they used to. So I just like getting the 340 damage Pounce as opposed to the slight increase in damage to cats. It's just a personal preference. If you really want cats, you can go for it, but I'm going to start going as if I got Pounce. After Pounce, I get Catcall, then I level up Decall and Catcall whenever, or Declaw and Catcall, I said Decall, both whenever possible. So now, moving into Bastet's recommended item build. As a jungler, you want to start Bumba's Mask, Hand the Gods 1 with Bastet, and Boots. She does really well with higher movement speed, so you definitely want the Boots. Get a health potion and a mana potion to round out your start. The items you want to build into, Bastet does really well with physical power, so Warrior Tabi are a must with her. 40 damage, since she gets 100% scaling on 2 abilities, that's 40 extra damage. It just is so good with Bastet that you need it. After that, you go Jotun's Wrath. Jotun's Wrath will give Bastet everything she needs. Extra mana to spam her abilities, and since she already has mana troubles, it helps that alleviate that a little bit. A little bit of physical penetration, so all her stuff will do more damage. 40 physical power, which is just, again, tremendous with her. And the cooldown reduction so she can use her combo far more often. It's just overall great item for Bastet. It's a great item for any physical god that has to cast abilities to do damage, so Jotun's Wrath is one of the key items with physical gods. Now, as for third item, I really like Titan's Bane with Bastet, and that's because ignoring physical defenses is really good with her because of the amount of damage she does and how much damage can be resisted with physical defense. So having Titan's Bane there means that your ability's got to be swinging really, really hard, and there's not a lot the enemy can do to resist it. As for fourth item, Shifter Shield, great item on Bastet. More damage is always appreciated with her. She really does very well with damage. As for your fifth item, there's a few options you could go here. You could go Magi's Blessing, which is really good if you're getting really hurt by enemy CC. Bastet can really does well with this item. You could opt to go into Deathbringer for the 50 extra damage. It's just a really good item with Bastet. I personally, it all depends on what the enemy team has and how well you're doing. If you're behind, you definitely want Magi's. If you're ahead by a lot, or even just ahead, Deathbringer just makes you such a pain to deal with. Now, as for sixth item, this is kind of where Bastet has fallen off. Her damage is really good for the mid game, but it kind of falls off late game as cats don't really do a whole lot. Her damage is less meaningful, and she just kind of dies way too easily. So at this point, I would say get a defensive item. Just be a little bit tankier, not die as easily. Be able to actually output your damage before dying. Just a recommendation. As for actives with Bastet, bees are a must for any assassin. Especially with Bastet because she can't jump out of CC. She used to be able to, but that just became ridiculous. So you have to have beads if you get caught before being able to jump back. You need these things. These are also just a good item for almost every god in the game. Few gods outside of the supports ever don't buy this item, so buy your beads. It will save your life. You also want to build the Fist of the Gods into your Hand of the Gods into Fist of the Gods. Bastet has no natural CC of her own, so having a stun for an active is a great idea with her. It lets you waste beads just in case. It's just a really good option with her. Now, moving into Bastet skins, you have the standard Bastet, Golden Legendary Diamond, and then her recolored Dominatrix. And finally, her gem skin called Covert Ops. This really changes a lot of her effects. Primarily, her 2, instead of just a whip, is a gun that will cause bleeding. So, it's kind of cool. She becomes sort of a secret agent. It's a very interesting skin. Alright, so I think that's all I have to say for Bastet.